Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Cloudcast for March, Cloud Integration Partners Cloudcast. We're joined by some very esteemed guests today. We have Kylie, Lielette, and Kelly. We're just waiting on Kelly to join us. And as usual, having a few little technical hiccups. I'm waiting for the Facebook live stream to kick off, which is giving me the wheel of death at the moment, which I always love seeing. But that's fine. I'll tap away at that and fix that in the background. Jeff, if you'd like to take over while I fix up these technical things, that would be fantastic.
A cloudcast isn't really a cloudcast without some technical difficulties, isn't it?
We just try to get too many things happening at once. I think that's our problem, pushing the limits.
Well, I think maybe some context for Lielette and Kylie. We started these cloudcasts because we thought, when we went to these networking events, we always had these great conversations with our partners and our colleagues. And we thought, we've got an audience now of 1,300 people in our partner program, that it would be excellent if people could have access to these type of industry conversations, So that was sort of the basis. And we always thought to keep it very relaxed and casual and conversational, because it was always a lot more engaging just to, have discussions as colleagues rather than have these really stiff sort of presentations and keynotes. So that was sort of the basis. And I can't believe it's March already. Can you believe it's March?
Well, it's actually April. We're on the cusp of April.
Yeah, correct. And
March is gone.
Yeah, so the year's really kicked off with a bang. And, we are always looking for excellent guests to have on board. And you guys certainly have had a very busy start to the year. Few events that we want to sort of have some time to discuss today. At the start of the year, there was the 50 Women in Accounting nominations that you guys were obviously a very big part of. We just finished the Accounting Business Expo as well, where I was able to sit in on a session that Kelly sat in on and was on a panelist on a board. There she is.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing, yeah.
But she doesn't know she's on.
Hey!
Hello.
Which camera am I on?
This one.
Yes. So yes, I was able to sit in on Kelly's session, her board, and then most recently, you guys had your Accountek Global event.
Yeah, the golf day.
Yeah, so you've had a very busy start to the year.
You could say that, or would that be an understatement, ladies?
There's been a few late nights, I'd say.
Kelly, I saw a tweet come through on Saturday morning where you went straight from the airport straight to soccer.
Yeah, I did. And do you know, further to that, I actually went from soccer to my older son's rugby game, and he sustained an injury. And then I actually went from there to the hospital. And then I got home that night. So I'd really done Sydney, North Brisbane soccer, inner Brisbane rugby, City Hospital, home. But, the way life goes when you're a mum, I guess.
Yeah.
Is he okay?
Yeah, no, he's okay. A few days off work, it'll be fine.
Right. No major damage.
No.
Cool. Okay, so we have everybody present now. So very quick introduction. We have Kylie Parker with us this morning from Lotus Accounts. Kylie is also an author of a very interesting book. And we have Kelly Chard with us, accountant specialising in medical and dental practices, Growthmd, and Lielette from All Accounts, cloud accounting advisor and specialist, and very prominent speaker out there. And everybody's all very much across the whole cloud space. We've been working alongside you guys for a long time. And here comes Peter. We've got Peter joining us as well. This is an unexpected guest.
No, it is the baby.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Hello. Hello.
Morning, Peter. Just pop in to say hello.
I am.
Lovely. Right. Is it because I asked you the other day, Peter, when we were talking, why you were not front of camera?
Yes.
Oh, this is gold. We haven't done one of these Cloudcasts for a little while, so we're a little bit rusty. But it's all good. I think this highlights the nature of these conversations. It's all very off the cuff and casual, and
this is what the girls and I do all the time. We're constantly on Zoom. But instead of having one of these, we're having a glass of wine.
I think we might make the next Cloudcast at about 5 o'clock, so we can go with that.
Yeah.
So, Peter, I might just get you to jump back out of the meeting, and we might have to join using a different link because you've come in as a panelist.
Oh my goodness!
There in the background and have a listen. You can provide some input.
I didn't know that. Okay. I will.
You're famous, Peter.
I know. Okay. My goodness.
Awesome. So, like Jeff said, very busy start to the year. Accountek, you guys launched Accountek. You've had your event last week. I think it's the perfect segue into talking about what is Accountek. So, let's have Kylie kick it off for us. Can you explain a little bit about Accountek for us?
I can, Clinton. So at the end of last year, I was put in for the application for the Australian Financial Review sort of top 100. And I found out later on that they only had over 143 applications, 2 firms that were solely female owned. So for me, it really sort of started to raise an awareness that I was blown away that that was a number. And so that's from a Chard accounting number of firms. And so you kind of, once you start, sometimes you're just so busy the day-to-day of what you're doing that you don't really think about the broader industry or space that you're in. And so we do a lot, obviously, in terms of digital adoption with our clients and making our own back offices more efficient and automated, but not really sort of aware of that you're doing something like that is still a minority in sort of being female-owned practice. And so when there was a tweet that was sort of mentioned online just around the number of male speakers on number of panels, it sort of ignited a discussion that then, myself, Lielette and Kelly, actually, Kelly, I'm dual. Kelly, I don't know if it's on the screen there, but...
yes, it's showing Kylie's name. That's fine. We know who you are, Kelly. Myself.
I'd love that. So it really started a conversation around, what can we do? It's that age-old, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So, how could we go about, making a change? And so the 3 of us were sort of the last 3 standing from that original discussion.
Yeah.
So we sort of, took the seed that was planted and, have nurtured that. And Accountek Global, our sort of golf day on Friday, was the launch of that. And I think, enormous success. And given that it was sort of created over the holiday period where we've all got kids and school holidays, that we had a meeting that we basically crashed Lielette. And that's where we signed all our formal documentation for the organisation that we've created, and Laura Venables and Amarita Abbott were also there. And so just right from the start, we've had some enormous support from people like both of those women, and Heather Smith, who was our MC, and Mel Power and different people. And then obviously we sort of were able to get involved with the Practice Ignition event as well. So it's probably, I would say, for speaking for myself, it took off a lot quicker than we anticipated, which really shows that there's a need for it in the market, and people are wanting to embrace that. And that's both men and women.
Yeah. And so, Lielette, what are the benefits and the opportunities that members will receive as part of Accountek Global?
Well, I think the obvious ones to us, which is why we pulled together, was to create a platform, whether that's via webinars, webcasts, or live events, or even, the golf days like we did. It's to bring females, and I say that loosely because we do encourage men as well. This is not a female-only organisation, by no means. I think it evolved because of that, but we are very supportive, and the men in the industry have been probably the most supportive of this group as well. So we don't want to discount that at all. But what we are going to do is have, events that are approved by us, speakers that are approved by us, people that we know are going to add value and give real outcomes to the community, particularly to the females who believe that they have these self-limiting beliefs that they can't be more than what they are, that they just have to sit, maybe they're working in a chartered firm and, they want to become a partner, or they want to go out and start out on their own. What are those, what are those skills that they need to do that? So I believe the three of us are in a position where we've all worked for someone else, and we've all gone out on our own, and we've done that through hard work, determination. It hasn't been luck. It hasn't been that we've been in the right place at the right time. We strategically placed ourselves to be where we are, and we want to highlight and educate others to do the same. But we can't do that just the three of us. So we are looking for mentors, speakers, ambassadors, and we've had so much interest. Even this morning, we had someone from Canada email us to say that, hey, we want to be an ambassador for you guys because we need Accountek Global in Canada. We are so proud of what you guys are doing. So that's just the surface. I mean, the girls and I have lots to do, lots of things to strategize and plan out. But another example was yesterday. I was in Melbourne delivering a workshop to bookkeepers, and I asked the question, 50 bookkeepers in the room, who went to Accounting Business Expo? Not one of them went there. And wow. even the week or 2 weeks before, I delivered another workshop, same group, who's going? Not one hand up there. So that really tells me that there is a gap in the marketplace to tap into those accountants and bookkeepers who don't even see the benefit of going to these events. So if we can bring these things straight to their computer and show them the value of, taking them from being what I say, just an accountant or just a bookkeeper to something bigger and better, then that's what I think Accountek Global is all about. And I think the golf day was a huge indicator that, we have so much support in the industry. So I think I've said enough, but if the ladies want to add, if I've missed something, like I said, we are still, as Kylie said, the interest has been overwhelming. So we really have to pedal fast and catch up with the demand.
Mm. It's quite interesting. You mentioned the number of people that didn't put their hand up about Accounting Business Expo. The number of attendees at that event was astounding. It's the biggest event of its type.
It's the biggest event, and not just from learning, getting your technical skills, but also the confidence to have conversations with people. And like you were saying before, is you meet these people at events, but where do you go from there? How do you continue that conversation and build on those relationships? Mm. So we're hoping that, not hoping, we know it will, Accountek Global will allow people to build on those relationships in a soft skill capacity as well. So we assume that everyone knows their tech, knows their skill technically. We're not here to teach them how to do accounting or tax returns or bookkeeping. We're here to teach them all the other stuff that they don't learn currently when they're at uni or when they're in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys just had your event on Friday, I believe. Kelly, maybe you can talk a little bit about how people can get involved and tell us a little bit about how the event went and, what was how did you come up with the idea of doing a golf day and, how was it received?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so first of all, how to get involved. I think, like Lielette mentioned, we have a lot of interest and we have a lot of ideas. So we're really sort of right now putting that into a formal strategy. So what we're asking people to do is to go to our website, sign up, so with your email address, so just register your interest so that you're in our group so that we can communicate with you, because when we do start reaching out for ambassadors, reaching out for local events, reaching out with some sort of programs people might like to get involved in, or if there is an opportunity to connect people with each other or people with speakers on a particular topic, we want to make sure that everybody's there, ready to go. So we've asked everybody who came to our golf event, we've asked them to sign up to our website, and anybody listening to this, hopefully will go along and sign up. And we're really going to, I guess, solidify all the interest that we've had first, and then take that into our sort of next event or next program. So, and in saying that, next event, there was some talk on Twitter yesterday about when the next golf event will be. So I guess that's an indication of how well received it was. And oh, Peter's back.
Peter's back.
I'm just clicking on my link as a registered member. I don't know how I come on as a presenter.
That's cool.
I'm presenting.
I think I can control it from my side, Peter, so I can convert you into an attendee, which will sort out this problem. There we go. And I think, yeah, there we go. Problem solved. We have the power.
So I guess the idea of the golf day itself stemmed from what Kylie spoke about in that that first evolution of us getting together was more about, well, what are we going to do? Let's have a chat, let's workshop some ideas, and let's do something that is, I guess, usually a male type networking event, and actually open it up to females and have a bit of fun with it. So that was sort of the first evolution. That was, I guess, before things progressed, and we actually talked about what kind of impact we wanted to make, and we wanted to be more than a social golf day, obviously. But you know, in saying that, the feeling and the support and that from the golf day was amazing. I think Kylie, Lielette and I were actually blown away, because we had so many people wanting to get involved. When we opened it up to sort of talk about, you know, would people like to get on board and sponsor a team? We've got this new organisation, we've got this new idea, and our sponsors were straight in, and we sort of sold out straight away, basically. So, you know, just the support that we've had from everybody, men, women, app partners, you know, it's been amazing. And I think now that everybody's seen this event.
Anita said the golf day was awesome. Was that because she was on the winning team?
Yeah. Lucky. Yeah. Lucky. She was walking around that. So to see women out there that didn't know each other, that were playing golf together, to see men being really great and giving some tips, some of the male golfers that had played before and been really supportive, that was amazing. I think Heather asked the question back in the clubhouse of who's met new people, and everyone was like, yeah, we have, and who, you know, who's had a great day? We have. So, you know, if that's what we achieve, then I think we can be pretty proud of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. We had also, we had Laura Binns from Terrapin from Singapore who was there. I invited her, and she was just like, wow, if you guys want a job at Terrapin, you have done an amazing job. So we always have that to fall back on, ladies.
Plan B.
I don't know if I can do that many bags, actually.
And I'll just highlight as well, this is very much an interactive Cloudcast discussion. So we've got people already in the chat posting some comments. We've got Carla who's just joined. So there's your newest member. She's just joined. And Anita's ready to defend the title next year. So who was on Anita's team, out of curiosity?
Marcus.
Yeah.
It was a surgical partners team, but Marcus wasn't on the team. I think he just came in the glory photo.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding, Marcus.
The weather looked great as well. You got lucky.
A bit hot. It could have been a little bit less humid. We had ladies in jeans and pants. It's like, we had one group of ladies.
The glam squad.
Gucci glam squad. Rita's team from Now Infinity. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. But they were like, what? We only sponsored one hole. So doesn't that mean we just play one hole? So quite not dressed for playing 9 holes of golf.
But you know what? One of those ladies was in a leather.
Yes.
And, but that was amazing. Like, that's great. Why not?
It was. Yeah, I
Glam
think
it up.
definitely. Yeah, I think we need to call it glam golf next year.
Yeah.
Or definitely 2 teams. The pros start first, then we have an elite, the glam elite.
So as I was saying, interactive. So if anyone's got any questions as we're going through, please feel free to post them in the chat box, and I am monitoring those as we go through. So we've got the chat box, which is great for a bit of back and forth, but there's the Q&A tool as well, which will go into the questions list. I'm monitoring that as well. If it's relevant to the conversation that we're having at that stage, we'll introduce it. Otherwise, we will do a bit of Q&A at the end as well. So please be as interactive as we can throughout this. This is for you guys as much as it is for us to have a bit of a yarn.
I'm just curious. What is the connection between the 3 of you? Because, you know, previous to Accountek Global, I wouldn't have put the 3 of you together. And so, you know, similar to Clinton and I, you know, there's a bit of history there, which is really interesting of how we came together and sort of brought together Cloud Integration.Partners. What's the connection between the 3 of you?
Kylie, did you want to? You take this one, Kylie.
Yeah, so it really, I suppose when I was working at Xero, I sort of, you know, at that point in time, part of that role was we, as sort of in that account management role, we had to be on Twitter. And so at the time, traditionally, I didn't really see Twitter as something that professionally was...
Yeah.
I wanted to be doing. Now I'm an addict.
She's a monster.
Now I'm an addict.
Organisation. So, I mean, it really, we sort of made a comment that, you know, in the past you used to make friends in real life and then you'd, you know, talk to them on social, where I think, you know, the number of times I ran into different people at Accounting Business Expo last week, and, you know, that was probably the number one thing that was said to me, oh, it's nice to meet you in real life. And so all these people that we have sort of early morning chats and late night chats with, and it's bringing people together that are like-minded, and I think we also do have some similar backgrounds personally as well. So I think you naturally gravitate towards still people that you've got commonalities with. And so it has been really good, because I think, again, yes, we're similar, but we've also got differences, and we're sort of learning those amongst the 3 of us, but also really recognising that the strengths that we sort of independently have, we can sort of, you know, work with those and achieve a lot more with 3 than, like what Lielette said, you know, the power of 3 and what that can actually achieve is something that none of us can do.
And we are so different, all 3 of us. Like, it's remarkable.
Well, so let me ask you a very off-the-cuff question. If each of you had a superpower, what would it be?
I'm liking the clone, Kylie, down the bottom there. Does Ben Kelly some work?
Superpower. Oh.
If you're all very different, what do you each bring to as a group? You know, this trifecta.
Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting, because I think even just the golf day really highlighted our different skill set and what we each contribute. So,
Kylie's attention to detail.
Yeah, look, I mean, Lilette's probably more like strategy and direction and planning and that sort of thing. Kylie, you know, has a very different style in terms of getting shit done, basically.
That's how I like to
get that done straight away. You know, and I'm always the one going, oh, but what about this? We considered this, and you know, and so I think everybody slots in to sort of provide some good balance, and ultimately get there in the end. So I don't know if those are actually superpowers.
Yeah, you play the devil's advocate.
But you know what? Maybe we have superpowers already, because when I think about it, you know, we're all running our own businesses. We all have children. We've all got boys at home. We've been planning this golf day. We've been, you know, attending conferences. You know, we've all been doing a lot. And when I look back at the last few months, the way that we've managed to fit all that in has been pretty amazing.
I think you're spot on, Kelly. I get told a lot of the times that I'm superwoman because, you know, the things that I've got on my plate at the moment, from writing to speaking to conferencing to client work to hiring new staff. I've got an interview straight after this. So there's just so many things. So I think the superpower that I would love is to probably be able to do less but still have more. I don't know, because I mean I love what I do. People say, oh, you need to choose and pick. I get so many people say, you're doing too much. You need to choose the things that are going to make a difference. And it's really hard. It's like asking a kid, choose which ice block. You only get given one. And that's what I feel like for me.
But I want both.
I want both. In this case, I want all three. So,
so maybe the superpower would be time control.
Time control. Yeah, just slow. Yes. Just can we double the days? Can I have an extra 8 hours in the day? That would be a superpower. Like, just for me. Everyone else can.
I want a bit of that too.
Do you?
Yeah,
share around.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll share it.
So that might be a good opportunity just to discuss how the role of women in finance, you know, what was their role historically and how is that evolving and changing today, you know, with technology and the, you know, the different goals that you have and the different ways that you're having to work and juggle and manage personal versus business and organizations that you're part of. How is that evolving and how do you guys want to help people that are going through that evolution?
I might jump in here that I've got some stats actually that in 1919 across the accounting bodies they had 1,341 members, of which 8 were women.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so it really again sort of became after World War II when women were you know, sort of stepped up while the men were fighting overseas, that women sort of did really become, you know, it was that fight just to become accountants initially. And then, I mean, again, the statistics that we're really seeing are around 50% sort of graduate CA, CPA members are now sort of roughly 50-50, male and women. And yet at a partnership level, I mean, it's sort of talking about 1 in 5 really across the board. So it's still, well, what is that gap? And, you know, from my experience, it still is. I kept working after I had both my children, and I often feel I've had some life events, divorces and different things. And I am really fortunate that I've been able to have a professional career to always, you know, fall back on and be independent. So I think that's something for me that is really important, is how do we create environments where people that work with us that are, you know, my manager, the desk that normally is there, she works remotely and she's come back from maternity leave. She's got an 8-month-old and a 4-year-old. So how do we create environments as well ourselves that, you know, enable that flexibility and that can often, you know, it can be various for men as well, but just that old style, unless you're at a desk, you're not really working. I think we need to learn to be able to manage our staff and the output, not the, you know, that time old style of, you know, these are the hours. And as a lot of people say, it's quite of an inefficient way of both monitoring, you know, productivity, performance, and also billing. So I think for me, the technology is really what has changed that, and the flexible working that can come from remote working and online technology. So, you know, Roger and Xero have really sort of led that change. And I got involved in Xero in 2009. And my second son was born in 2007. So I really did see the benefits of what the technology can provide and how that can also then create flexible working environments, which is better suited, you know, traditionally to people that also have primary childcare giving roles. And that would be my...
I think it's, I think we've probably collectively been quite lucky in the way we've been able to work and blend our families and our work. But I think it's important to note that there is still a really large section of females and males as well in accounting and in finance that don't have that opportunity and that flexibility. So yes, it is coming to the forefront more now, but it still hasn't filtered its way through every firm, every, thinking style of very traditional firms, or maybe in some more regional places, or wherever it may be. So I think, even just us sitting here talking about this, and Kylie talking about the way she ran her business, her career opportunities through divorce, through kids and that sort of thing, and just making that visible is really, really important in just every day, just getting that message out there.
I know from my own personal experience with SMB, we started as very traditional, come to the open plan office, come in, put in your 8-hour workday. And when we decided to take on resources that had very Xero specific skill set, we found it really difficult to hire and find people that could commit to a traditional work schedule. And it wasn't until we opened that opportunity up to work flexible hours and working from at home that we found some really, really skilled employees that work from at home and were just coming out of either managing, they were caregivers, or else managing their family, work-life balance. And we were able to bring on and hire some really highly skilled Xero employees that could manage that part of our business. So it's definitely had a really positive impact on the way that we hire and run our business.
I agree. I'm a firm believer that the best skills is not in your own backyard. And with the global community that we have, there is no reason why you can't hire anyone in this world if you're using and this comes back to, are you using the right technology to support that global community where you can call on the best skill set. So, and I also think, coming back to a woman thing, for me with my team, I see it as also not, because I want them to manage their role like it's their own business. They have their own accountabilities. There's no such thing as micromanaging everyone, and there's no such thing as time. It's about the outputs, it's the results. And everyone needs to be client facing. You can't afford to have people in the back anymore not being client facing. We're all trying to operate lean businesses so we can provide more value to our clients. So, and I think if you instill that kind of, again, confidence and have your team be part of that decision making, and flexibility. We all talk about flexibility, but I do believe flexibility is an earned and trusted thing, because not everyone can do it. So people say, oh yes, I want to work from home, but meanwhile they're on social all day, or they're doing stuff. So I think
that's you and Kylie, isn't it?
It's okay. And we work, we work to get the job done.
I know.
But when it comes to, but you're right. You're so right. We should all be doing less social.
I don't watch TV. It's my
I don't either. No, not at all.
There's something that Catherine just wrote in the chat box, which I think is
needs to be exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Cultivate a culture, of output, not time utilization, is what I say. Because time is with technology, it's not about how long you spend doing something. In fact, I reward people for taking less time. And if you want to do something after that, go for it, because you've achieved all your outcomes. And together we can take on more, we can grow, we can be more efficient.
I'll just add something in there, that you're all very tech savvy. You're all at the cutting edge of technology usage, and I'm sure you're all using the cloud-based products that allow this flexibility and allow the more modern approach to business. But there's a lot of people out there that don't have that knowledge and that are not those early adopters and real innovators. So how can you help those people that are looking at, I want that flexibility, I want that business that can do that stuff, but I don't know where to start? Is that something Accountek Global can help with?
Absolutely. It's definitely one of the first things on our radar to be able to deliver those mentoring and how to. So not just the how to, but also people need to have been mentored and feel that they have an environment that they can talk to, a connection of women, and nothing clicky, because you go to events and it can be clicky and people lose confidence. And so we want people to be engaged and connected the whole time with all of us. So yeah, definitely it's going to be an Accountek Global platform for doing that.
Yeah. And look, I think you're so right, Clinton, that there is so many people that probably aren't as tech savvy. And I think you fall into the trap of, because you're associating all the time with the same people, whether it's, app partners, you're going to, cloud meetups. I spend a lot of time with Kylie and Lielette, so I get a lot of knowledge that way. But if you're not doing that, it's where do you go? And I think there's also a little bit of a mentality now that time is moved, and everybody should be using tech, everybody should be in the cloud, everybody should be doing this. And yeah, they should, but that doesn't mean that we just leave everybody else behind. And I think that that group of people that really need support, and they need to feel like it's not too late, and there is lots of resources out there, and there's lots of different ways to access those resources. And I think the other thing, just supporting what Lielette said, is we're really open to hearing other people and hearing other people's experiences. So if there was a woman out there that feels like she would like some help structuring her business in a way that enables her to do more with her family, or employ remote staff, or whatever it may be, she should get in touch with us, because, there is definitely things that we can do, and we want to hear those people's stories, so that we can also mould the direction of Accountek Global.
Sorry, I'm laughing at something. Nicole Lynch just tweeted, "We all need to spend less time on social," says Lielette. That's crazy talk.
Thank you. Never leave that down now.
Oh dear, it's on social. I didn't say that. That was my alter ego saying that.
Can I just add to that comment too, in terms of, so we do see ourselves as having that dual role of sort of raising the profile of women, so that, in cross-industry events that they were sort of represented, but also we talk about driving digital adoption. And I think I spoke on a panel last week at AB Expo that was talking about our current memberships, and just again, we feel that there's so much out there now that you can't be across all the apps that are there, across whatever G Suite's got, Office 365, and be running, at the end of the day, we're all client focused and client driven. And so, if we get an email from a client, I can tell you now, everything else gets dropped, and that's what gets responded to. So that, how do we help, just disseminate the information that's there? Because I personally feel that quite often it was for fear of, I don't want to be seen to be promoting one organisation over another, and you're kind of getting that conflict, that where we just want to provide agnostic information and just case studies, really, so this is what we might use, this is what we've seen, how does that work? I mean, we're really, when we talk about being at the cutting edge, I mean, I am starting to look at wanting to do UiPath courses that are around robotic process automation, and how do I get to a point where everything that I do is automated, and that's tricky. I mean, I'm going to Microsoft Ignite conferences now, and AWS summits, and Amazon, and I had an IT issue. I handed my phone over, I handed computers over. I didn't. If I can learn it, anyone can learn it. I went into Zero and I crashed things
But, I had a good conversation with Kelly at ABE, and we were talking about how, the way her business has evolved. She's doing a lot of things that are advisory things that are really outside of what the traditional accountant would consider to be their role and responsibility. And I think that's one thing that I see with all of our partners, is that everyone is all on this journey of evolution, and everyone is doing more and evolving into a role that is different from the traditional sense. But people have a really hard time accepting and really embracing that role, and being able to package it and market it to their clients. And what I see with Accountek Global is that, there's probably a lot of people out there, and even listeners that are listening in today, that want to, go down that path and need a little bit of assistance, and want to hear about your guys' experience and the things that you've done and how you've evolved. So, how do you think you could, in what ways could you share that information with other people, like, that could benefit from your experiences?
I often think, how you sort of said, choose one thing and do that really well. So they talk about the 1%. And so this is what we did with the golf day. It was like, let's organise this first, see where we get to before we worry about our world domination. And, you know, so it is the same. There is, you know, so much out there now that you can do with technology. But if you think about everything that you can do, quite often you end up getting overwhelmed, and quite often, and that leads to inertia. So it's just, you know, working on one thing, work out whatever that might be, whether that's, you know, picking one client that you're going to go, right, from 1 July, I really want to have this client doing monthly accounts, real-time accounting, because I found just that one step leads to business advisory and everything else. Because if you think about, well, I need to help my client grow, that is a concept for traditional compliance-based accountants. It's quite daunting. So it's think about how do you have real-time information, and then the conversations around that information lead to effectively saying, now, sort of, you know, look at employing more people, or, and so until you've got that base data, the conversations can't actually start. You know. Yeah.
I think also, I think one thing that we probably will explore that we, I'm probably surprising Kylie and Lielette here, it's on their radar anyway, is coming back to what you said, Jeff, I think there is probably a really good case for doing some case studies, whether it's on us or whether it's on other women, because there is a lot of other, I guess, moving parts to where I feel like I'm at now, and I still have a lot of things I want to do and a way to go, which we spoke about also, but just that whole process of how I exited out of my old firm, how I started my new firm, the issues that I had when I set up, the barriers, the choices I had to make, not just around technology, but in terms of staffing and structure, location, offshore, onshore, you know, all of these sorts of things. And then moving that through to, well, who are our clients, who are our, what is our offering, and how we're going to package that and market that. You know, there's so many moving parts, and it can be pretty daunting when people come and say, you know, you need to get more revenue from advisory. So you need to diversify and create some revenue streams from advisory. And, you know, I think, like, I've come to your camps before. I think once you go to your camp and you see that you're probably already doing a lot of that stuff, and you just need some help in how to package that and market that, those tools are really good. But probably also just that piece before as well, of just how do you actually get to that stage where you're in, maybe in your own business or in another firm, and what does that look like for you, and people like us can help you, I guess.
Yeah. Totally agree, yeah. For me, I think I'm in a bit of a unique situation, as well as being a director of the Association of Accounting Technicians. I come across a lot of bookkeepers who have definitely are not in that place of even thinking about even simple things like, not so simple, but value-based pricing, packaging up your services. Everything that Kelly touched on is, you know, we take it for granted because, you know, you are a product of the people you surround yourself with. And I surround myself with people like Kelly and Kylie. So you know, it's not until reality hits me and I am talking to a group of 50 or 100, you know, other bookkeepers who aren't even thinking about shifting to a value-based service model, who aren't even thinking about getting some of their clients off desktop, it's quite frightening. And you kind of go, whoa, you know, there's so many opportunities. Simple things like even just, you know, having a conversation around cash flow with their clients, you know, how to do that, you know. And I think they've been scared off by a lot of the app providers who are talking about, you need to charge an extra $300 a month because you should be doing advisory, you know, and that scares people. And, you know what, let's face it, small business does not want to pay extra. They don't have the funds to pay. So we have to come up with a way where we are, because I'm very custom client centric, and I always believe, you know, what's best for the SME and also what's best for us as an industry collectively as a whole, how we go. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I think case studies are great. And I think because with case studies, they're inspirational. People then have things to aspire to as well. So Kelly, I think you're our first case study, mate. how to leave the corporate world and start up your own. So, I mean, I've been doing my stuff for 15 years, so it's probably, it was different when I decided to venture, out. But I think today it's a lot harder. It's not as, because you're competing with so many more. When I did it, there weren't a lot of people doing what I do. Whereas now I think there's so many. And how do you stand out? How do you define your value in the marketplace, to the next accountant down the road? And we all know that your next client, they've Googled you and 2 other people. So how do you stand out? How do you become the one? And I don't like the term trusted advisor. I actually used it yesterday. I call it, trusted friend, because they talk to us. They tell us everything that's going on. We want to become their trusted friend. This trusted partner, but this trusted advisor, it's kind of like, I've always, what are you saying? I've always abided by my code of conduct. Of course I'm trusted. I've always been advising you. So I just don't know. So I think we need to kind of break that whole trusted advisor down to, granules and what it actually means, rather than just, define it, rather than just say we're a trusted advisor.
I think one thing that, really was a defining moment for Cloud Integration Partners, because I see a lot of parallels between what you guys are doing and what we're doing. I mean, our idea just came from Clinton and I going, we need to fill a gap. And we've been thinking about things one thing at a time. Trust us, it's been definitely a work in progress.
Do we get them to sign an NDA?
So, yeah, it's definitely been a work in progress that's evolved over time. But yeah, I just think it's been, like what I see with partners is they're going down this path and they're already doing a lot of advisory work, but they just haven't had the time to take a step back and look at how they can package that up and present it in the right way. But, a lot of people they get drawn into the satisfaction they get out of helping their clients. That's what it really comes down to. You really want to, it's really rewarding when you can make a recommendation that makes a big impact on either their business or their personal life or their work-life balance. But, I always say to our partners, how are you charging for this? What are you getting out of it? Like, besides the satisfaction of helping someone, this is an actual business for you, and you should really embrace it and go down that path and figure it out as you go. You don't have to have all the answers today, but, I think that's one similarity I've seen with Accountek Global and Cloud Integration Partners is just going down a path and working it out as you go along,
Yeah. And I think there's another important point you made there too about enjoying helping people and enjoying that side of that advisory process. And I think that's what's holding a lot of people back too, because you can't fake some of that stuff. So just because people tell you need to go and offer this service in your business doesn't mean that you're going to do it well. And the people that I find that are doing it really well are the people where, yes, you want to make money, but it stems from that place of really wanting to help people and being really enthusiastic and always learning and, being open to other people's ideas and inputs and things like that. So, I really liked that point and I think that you're right, that's where we get caught, because we always want to do a little bit more and help our clients a little bit more. Yeah. And then when you look back over the last few months of the time that you've spent with that client, you might feel rewarded, but you might also feel a bit poor if you don't charge accordingly. Yeah.
Important to value the knowledge that you bring to the table when you're working with a client. And there's a good comment there from Catherine saying that she sees bookkeepers lack confidence in their own abilities. Short courses on business performance indicators would help boost confidence. It really is. It is so important to understand that the knowledge that you bring is what is why you're there. It's the stuff that you have that the other side of the table doesn't have. So valuing that is so important. And I guess when you're working in a traditional money for time situation, you can be conscious of that. But when it's a bundled offering, when it's a fixed fee offering, does that help? I guess break down those barriers of thinking, I don't want to spend more time on this because I'm not going to get paid for it or whatever it might be. Does that help?
It does. Definitely. It changes the whole shift of your mind, that it's not about it's not about how long it takes you to do something. It's about giving the client what they value. So when you take on a client, you need to understand what it is, you need to scope, but more importantly, what is it that they value? Because every client values something differently. And as professionals, we have a duty of care to make sure that they receive X amount of information on time and things are lodged, but it's all the other stuff in between that they value. What are the numbers that keep them up at night? What are the numbers that are going to drive their business forward? And understanding those numbers on the upfront is to me is one of the drivers. Not, you know, and that's how you also build confidence as a bookkeeper or an accountant, taking your role to that next level and doing more than just the compliance stuff. So yeah, so for me, it's about being accessible, and that's what we do. We tell our clients, you have access to us, you know, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's, you know, and I had a client email me on the weekend, say, look, I need an urgent cash flow forecast. They're on value-based pricing, and I pretty much dropped everything because I knew that he was going to see his board on Monday, and I knew they wanted to put on a new person. They wanted to know the impact of putting on a new person. So I quickly, you know, did up a cash flow forecast for them. And that to me is, if I was charging by the hour, I'd be going beauty, Saturday rates, you know, but it wasn't like that. It was just, you know what, it's our philosophy is whatever it takes to give the client what they need. And with fair and reasonable being commercial.
Yeah, I was just going to, sorry, Kelly, go on.
I was going to say, you do have to be careful because
you do.
I get so enthusiastic. I mean, we do fixed billing, and I get so enthusiastic about some things. Like I could visit a new medical centre and I want to do a million things. And, you know, we have these great discussions about all the tech change and the process change and what we're going to do. But you can't get too carried away as well, unless they're willing to pay you for that service.
But you establish that up front.
Yeah.
It's
when you have to be careful along the way because, you know, it's when you love it, it's easy to be like, yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And then you get them on board and they're excited. And then you're like, well, someone has to pay for it.
But it's when they trust you, you can then have that conversation and go, you know what, they see the value in what you're doing. They know that it comes at a price and they know that, you know, so I think that also is something you have to build, because I think if you go in and go, well, if it's outside of that and I'm going to charge more, then it's not really value-based pricing. Because then you're fixed pricing and you're going back to and you're resonating it back to time. So that true value-based pricing it's not about time, it's about knowing it's productizing your service to be worth something in the marketplace.
But, you know, Lielette, value-based pricing is something I talk a lot about, but how do you get somebody down that path of trusting like if they can understand what the client values, how do you put a price on that? What is that factor within the business that allows that pricing to scale? Because that's what I think most
experience. And I just have to tell you, it's experience. It's knowing. I've been doing it now for about 4 years and knowing what my market. So marketplace is different. I mean, I know in the CBD, I can probably command a little bit more than I can out in the suburbs. So it's understanding your market and knowing what your value is worth in a particular market as well. So if I'm charging in regional Australia, clearly they won't pay the same prices as the CBD in Sydney would pay. So, and it's really experience and it's trial and error. It's working out, well, okay, why aren't I winning all these proposals? Am I pricing myself outside the market? And it's reevaluating. But also it's backing yourself and going, well, you know what? I can't afford to take on clients less than this a month because I have overheads. I have a certain value that I want to provide. So for us, we have our minimum and we know that not every client's for us. So we say to them, our starting point is here. If you want to work with us, this is what you get as a starting point. And we build up from that. So, but we're very careful and mindful as to how many hours we do spend, because if we've got a client we're spending double the time, then the process is broken. I've clearly I've done something wrong in my quoting and scoping. So that's when we need to go back through. But we're learning, and 9 out of 10 times the client understands, yeah, I'm getting you to do more. Yeah, let's review the pricing. Or, you know what, no, I really can't afford more. Maybe you show me how to do some of this. So it's working with them and trying to work within their budget, but at the same time, not cutting ourselves, not leaving money on the table.
Mm.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic that I think
we could have a separate conversation.
Yeah, no, I think we're just doing our planning for our next upcoming cert camps, and I think pricing is one of those areas that we're going to try to delve a bit deeper and get some of these great discussions going, because I think there's lots of different people that can add input in terms of their experience and what's worked and what hasn't worked. And I think
here's an example for you. Is there something that you would pay more for? Like, would you go somewhere else for a better cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Would you buy a car because you like the way it drives more than, something else? Would you buy a Prada handbag over a Gucci handbag? People will stretch themselves if they see the value in something that they like. And that's what we are. We need to see, but they also know that there is a value in the marketplace. I know people will pay, I've seen people pay $300 an hour for a bookkeeper because they see the value in that person. And I'm not kidding. I've seen it.
Who sees the value? Do they see the value in themselves and therefore they've got the confidence and the pricing, or is it in an egg?
The customer clearly thinks they see that because the person has sold the value. They've done a great job. I want their marketing team.
There's definitely some confidence behind it.
That's what I'm saying. There is confidence, and they back themselves to say that you are getting a bookkeeper who, But anyway, the point is that if you do back yourself and if you can define your value in the marketplace, you can command pretty good money.
It's like anything in business. It's about the return on the investment, isn't it? If there's a return that's coming from that money that's being put into it, then it's a win-win.
Yeah. So, Kelly?
I was just going to pick up on something you said there before we run out of time.
Yeah.
Back yourself. So one of the things that we've talked a lot about after the PI Top 50 Women in Accounting judging process was that many of the women who entered and wrote their submissions were obviously amazing women, and some of them listed off, some great accomplishments, but they didn't really back themselves or sell themselves or really put themselves forward. They actually probably underplayed their themselves and played themselves down a little bit. So just when you said that, I remembered that's...
Oh, yeah, because we wanted to talk about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kelly makes a really good point. And when we were judging, and by the way, it was unanimous. It was like we had no idea who
Anonymous,
was who. It was anonymous. Sorry, not unanimous. It was anonymous. You have to be very careful. And, one of the things that we go back to is backing yourself, but also being able to story tell your wins and triumphs and what you're doing differently in the industry. So those that just gave us a rundown as to, I've moved my practice to the cloud and I'm now 100% cloud-based and I do this for my clients and I love automation. It didn't really hit with us emotionally, didn't give us, there was just nothing there because we had almost 300 applications telling us the same thing. So it was the ones that have actually started something, volunteered, do lots of in the industry, giving back to the community, have taken risks, have also niched in areas that was a big risk as well. So they backed themselves. And we also had some software providers as well. We had a lot of people say, well, why them? Well, it's because we believe some of those women champion, all things leadership for women as well. And they told their story to that effect. So it was that, and we all had different lists and we all, towards the end, we also suggested to the team at PI, we said, look, we really want to be transparent over this. We want to go over each other's lists because we want to make sure that someone's standards isn't higher than someone else's. So we spent an extra 4 hours doing that as well at our own time, just to make sure that we all agreed on the characteristics that, things we were reading in front of us. And then at the end, the names were revealed to us. And that's how it happened. It was just like, wow, okay, great. You know, and some of us knew the others better than you know, some of the submissions. And I knew a lot of them from overseas as well. But again, I'm so glad I didn't have the names in front of me, because it would have been a very tough decision. And I think it was tough enough as it was. But yeah, like Kelly said, you know, those that backed themselves and were able to tell their story, and I think that was the ones we were like, wow, that's so cool. You know, some of them brought tears to our eyes as well.
It does highlight how important that the quality of that submission is in the way it's presented and the way the story is told, which, you know, it's unfortunate for those that haven't got that strength in that storytelling, because they might have had, you know, better stories.
We want to share that for next time, so people know it's not about just listing the things you do.
Yeah.
It's like something someone said to me once, and I use this a lot. I can Google what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. But I can't Google how you make me feel and the impact you have on my life. And we were the judges, and we needed to be impacted.
Okay.
Fantastic.
We're out of time, but one last question. You mentioned at the start that with the Accountek Global members and the group, it's very much going to be about communication and sharing knowledge. What are the methods for communication, the communication tools that you're going to use for the group? Because there's so many different communication methods out there nowadays. You know, we've got Facebook groups, we've got Twitter, we've got all these social media things pulling us in lots of different directions. How are you guys going to be communicating with the members?
Kelly?
Oh no, tough question.
Well, we might come back to you after our strategy day on that one.
Well, I've just said I'm doing less social, so
We are in the process of
I'm not allowed on Twitter. I'm off.
consolidating everybody. I don't think a Twitter group with thousands of Accountek Global ladies is going to be hard to handle it all, do you? I don't know.
I might get divorced again. Probably wouldn't be good.
yeah.
But look, so we are definitely all about practicing what we preach. So we will be looking to get some good sort of engagement tools and that going there. And look, we've workshopped and discussed throwing up what sort of actual platform and learning platforms we're going to do. And we've got some pretty big plans, none of which comes quickly or cheaply, to tell you the truth. So we are going to have to invest a little bit of time in sorting that out. Yeah.
Community is everything, though, isn't it? With these groups, it's leveraging everybody's knowledge and sharing the knowledge. I'm a member of a number of different Facebook groups, and there's some actually really amazing tradie Facebook groups where, you know, there's obviously photos and stuff that get shared, you know, weird stuff, but the knowledge that everybody shares and the openness of people asking questions, it's so different to what it used to be. Back when I was plumbing, it was all very, oh, this is my business, no one look at my business, I don't want to share my knowledge, because it was everybody's working in the same area, in the same region. Whereas now we've got these global communities where you're talking to someone on the other side of the world and getting advice and feedback on what they've experienced. And the community is just amazing. The knowledge that can be gleaned from others is fantastic.
Yeah. And how amazing will it be? You know, as Lielette said, we have somebody, you know, quite an amazing woman in Canada that wants to get involved. You know, how amazing will it be to have a group where we have people from all over the world talking about their experiences in their part of the world. You know, and, you know, you can plan a trip to Canada and meet up and have a coffee with that person.
Yeah.
It's expensive coffee.
Tax deductible.
Tied in with a ski trip.
But I think just speaking, for myself here too, is just sometimes not necessarily have to reinvent the wheel though as well. So like, I think the key thing I really found in that zero role, and this is what sometimes I think when you have that bird's eye view of what accounting practices are like, is that you can just sort of see, well, quite often people aren't exposed to different information. So actually, you know, what currently is out there in terms of presentation skills and currently the community Facebook groups that are already there. So obviously with Zero Mastermind that Heather Smith runs and so again, being able to be a facilitator of information. So it's, you know, like an almost like a central depository of, if you come here and you can kind of get all this information, you can find, you know, female accounting presenters, you can find information, how to gain more confidence in pricing. So that's ideally, you know, for me, and I think, you know, is what we're really trying to achieve, isn't it? Is just how do we collate our industry knowledge in the best sort of time efficient manner too, because we're really conscious that everyone's time poor and we don't have time, you know, to research and do a lot. So how can we create something like that?
Yeah, creating an interest in areas that are probably untraditional as well, where you wouldn't think, where people aren't on social. We need to tap into where the people aren't on social and bring them to social, bring them to you guys, bring them to us. So that's what we want to try and do, because there are so many amazing, strong, energetic women, men out there who are doing what they do every day. And, you know, I was recently part of the Unsung Business Heroes, and, you know, there are so many unsung business heroes out there. And I think that's what we want to do. We want to bring in the unsung accounting heroes, you know, to this group and bring them and expose them and, you know, and not be, you know, there's nothing unsung about us because we're all on social. We're all telling the world what we do. But, you know, but it's not in a bad way. It's not in a way to say, hey, look at me. We're doing it because we want the industry to be better. We want to support the industry, and we just want to bring other people on that same journey and have them experience what we have. And you can still be very technical and great at what you do, but you can also be part of, you know, this amazing change in landscape as well.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies. A little bit over time, but awesome conversation. In closing, I think the action item is for everybody to jump onto the Accountek global website and register your interest and watch this space.
And the website is Accountek.Global.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I still get .com.
Yeah, no .com.
No.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your input in the comments.
And they can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook as well. We have all those social platforms, and Instagram as well.
Awesome, thank you. And so we had our little technology fail at the start with the Facebook Live post, but we've recorded the whole session and we'll be posting this up onto Facebook, all of our social channels, and also making this. We'll be distributing it to all the attendees and the registrants as well. So, thanks again for your time. Awesome to chat, and can't wait to see where things go with Accountek Global.
Okay, thanks, Clayton.
Thanks, ladies. See you. Bye.